Good evening to all of you, and thank you for joining us on 13 Plus. I'm Mary Coleman. We will dive right into your story for this evening. Technology, marketed as a solution to solving crime, could be a problem for closing some cases. More law enforcement agencies across the country are using this specific software, but a new national investigation reveals in the search for suspects, a trail of new victims is then left behind. Ciara Cummings explains why this new tech can lead to false recognition.
Georgia, New Jersey, Michigan.
We're the police. Don't tell us to settle down.
Cases divided by hundreds of miles, threaded by a simple connection. A search for robbery suspects created a trail of victims. November 25th, 2022, DeKalb County Police stop a car along I-20. The driver was Randall Reed. The 29-year-old was wanted.
You got 2 theft warrants. They're both in Louisiana. So I'm gonna have a subject in custody. It's gonna be him.
It would not be him.
I swear to God, I ain't never been to Louisiana. I don't do nothing, no like that.
Who would use your name? Like, who would get you involved?
I don't know, because I got my license. I don't even know nobody in Louisiana.
Randall had never been to the state, yet officers in 2 jurisdictions there accused him of stealing purses in Jefferson Parish and Baton Rouge. His attorneys say Louisiana law enforcement linked him to the crime he did not commit by using facial recognition technology. FRT is software that analyzes facial features, comparing one image to another to confirm a match or offer a limited set of results with similarities. At the time of Randall's arrest, neither he nor DeKalb PD knew Louisiana officers used the technology to ultimately issue warrants.
How often does what happen? When it's not the right person? I never know if it's the right person.
Put your phone in your pocket.
It was not the right person in this arrest either.
So I don't get to go in my house.
No.
And I got a warrant for retail fraud. Go home, settle down, bro.
I got a warrant for retail fraud.
In January 2020, using facial recognition technology, Detroit police linked Robert Williams to this surveillance video. The video shows a man stealing watches from a Michigan jewelry store. Robert, his family, and attorneys allege in a lawsuit detectives failed to thoroughly investigate beyond using the software.
Arrested me for absolutely no reason other than whatever you seen on a picture it's not real.
You could be doing every single thing right and still be arrested as if you've done something wrong.
Right.
They made a mistake, baby. It's okay. I'll be back in a minute.
The father did not come back for days. And in New Jersey, it was about 10 days before Niger Parks came home.
They don't do police work now with the facial recognition. Like, you just can't take the facial recognition and say, oh, the computer said it was him, so it's him.
February 2019, this scene unfolds outside a Woodbridge, New Jersey hotel. A suspect parked in a Dodge Challenger is accused of stealing from the gift shop. As officers are questioning the driver, he cranks up his car.
He took off!
The driver nearly hits police. Court documents reveal law enforcement later used facial recognition technology to run the actual suspect's fake license through the system. It falsely linked Niger to the crime he did not commit.
Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, shoplifting, eluding. My jaw just dropped. It was just like, huh? Like, where did you get all this from?
All 3 jailed, all falsely matched, all black men. A national study finds FRT use contributes to greater racial disparities in arrests. The author, Dr. Thaddeus Johnson, is a professor at Georgia State University, and not only does he teach students about this, he trains police, and he's a former officer.
Had this technology been available to you 10 years ago or even today if you were still an officer, would you use it?
I mean, I probably would.
But not as a final decision in a case. Dr. Johnson's study examines FRT deployment in more than 1,100 cities and subsequent arrests in 2016. The results show agencies which use FRT had a 55% higher arrest rate for Black people and a 22% lower arrest rate for white people compared to agencies that did not use facial recognition.
Bias can be embedded on the very front end.
According to the report, contributing factors in racial disparities include Black people are overrepresented in image databases like mugshots, so they carry a greater risk of being misidentified. Plus, the lack of racially diverse programmers to train and build these algorithms. Also, the absence of federal guidelines to interpret these results. And finally, the psychological effect of workers relying on shortcuts for time-sensitive, high-stakes decisions.
More recent data by the National Institute of Standards and Technology reveals FRT has a wide range in accuracy across developers. For example, systems created in China have more accuracy in identifying Asian faces. Additionally, when it came to U.S. databases, the highest false positives were in people of color, Indian, African American, and Asian.
We can use this technology, but we can't do it at the expense of inequity and discriminatory policing, whether we mean to or not.
And let's switch gears now for a look at your weather. I know a lot of eyes are on the forecast and have been for the past few days, Corey, because we've seen kind of a roller coaster of different weather patterns.
Yeah, it was very active over the last 3 days, not really including today. We saw it a lot more quiet, but Sunday through the beginning of this week, Sunday through Tuesday, there is a lot to talk about. So let's dive in right now by first talking about record-breaking rainfall. Let's break that down here in Tucson. Sunday through Tuesday, a good dumping of rain all 3 days, but especially Sunday and yesterday on Tuesday. Both ended up actually being daily records for Tucson, and if you put all of those 3 days together, that's over 1.5 inches. That marks the rainiest 3-day stretch in Tucson since August 23rd to the 25th, 2022. So from yesterday, that is 516 days ago. Haven't seen a rainier stretch since then. And here are the rainfall totals we were looking at Sunday through Tuesday. How about Ajo getting over 3 inches, over 1.5 inches, like I just mentioned in Tucson. A lot of spots getting over an inch, including Benson, Nogales, Green Valley, over 2 inches in Aravaca, Gila Bend over an inch, in the Catalina Mountains nearing 2 inches. Very wet last 3 days, and it did end up dumping some snow, a little bit darker, somewhere even not as good of a picture, but you can see it on Mount Bigelow right now, all of that snow. Looking at the city below where we don't have any snow, Ski Valley has a good dumping of snow. So how much snow fell? Well, it ended up being Summer Haven was the biggest winner in the region. Yes, around a foot Sunday through Tuesday. That's the biggest snowstorm that Summer Haven has seen this season so far. So now we're looking at Friday as a possible opening for Ski Valley. That'll be very exciting there. Snowball, 9 inches as well, not too shabby up in Flagstaff. Hannigan Meadow, 5 inches and a couple inches down in Alpine. Sunrise Park Resort, and a couple inches there in the city of Flagstaff. But right now, we're still cool. We got 55 degrees in Tucson, some spots in the 40s like Wilcox, Douglas, Bisbee, and Sierra Vista, and some spots hanging in the 60s. You got to go to the northwest for that, around Phoenix and Gila Bend, as well as not quite as much activity as we've been seeing in the last few days. We had a little bit of shower activity, very scattered and light there, mostly to Tucson and northeastward, but right now most of the area may be seeing a few drizzles, but mostly dry, but a very persistent cloud cover still sticking around. And here's the reason why we've seen this pattern change. The low that was contributing to the stormy weather we had over the last 3 days has since moved off to the east. All of that moisture out ahead of it now is impacting the Gulf South as well as Texas up through the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. But I want to turn your attention to two air masses right now to our west. That's that high pressure you see, and then that low pressure to the northwest. Let's first talk about this low pressure that's going to start digging into the region by the time we get through Thursday night through Friday. This radar projection is keeping it mostly to the north and northeast of the viewing area with some snow possible there in the White Mountains, and then it moves out of the way by Friday afternoon. You can see a couple inches in the White Mountains, maybe a few showers to the north and east, not even close to as impactful as the systems that we saw Sunday through Tuesday. Then that moves away, and then that high pressure I was talking about, it's kind of just sitting there, starts to move a little bit more over our neck of the woods by the time we get through the weekend, and stays there through mid next week, which means not only are we going to dry out, but we're also going to get a lot warmer. How about this? We do diminish in temperature to 60 on Friday, but from there, 70 Saturday in the 70s, then maybe even up to the upper 70s by the time we get to mid next week, almost 10 degrees above average. We look a little bit farther past that time, 8 to 14 day outlook, so that would be late next week through early 2 weeks from now. You can see temperature below normal, but precipitation, this is what's really catching my eye. I have a legend there on the bottom that shows, as far as it goes, 5 degrees above normal precip. That's where you see that little more lighter green. That's actually 5 layers above average. That's what's encompassing most of our region. So we could be looking at another well above normal stretch of precip like what we saw. Let's go a little more current now. Seasonally cold lows tonight once again in the low 40s there, in the 30s for many spots, as your lows around freezing in Wilcox, 35 Bisbee, 37 Sierra Vista, 43-degree low in Casa Grande, and a tad warmer tomorrow for most spots, up to the mid-low 60s in Tucson, a lot of 60s around the region, some 50s out towards the east like Safford, Benson, Sierra Vista, Douglas, around 61. Overall, here's that 7-day forecast, a lot drier, and the warmth is going to be cranked up. This is, what do you think about this 7-day? It's not bad. It's not bad.
I cannot wait for the weekend.
Yeah, listen, it's one of the perks we have living in southern Arizona during January is looking at a 7-day that looks like this. Maybe
Absolutely.
up to the high 70s by Wednesday. Can you believe it?
I can't, but I am excited for it. Like
I'm
I said,
excited
I'm not
as well.
too big of a fan of the gloomy weather, so bring on the sun and the warmth.
I think a lot of people are on the same page as you. Absolutely.
Thanks, Corey. And before we go, we will leave you with a live look of our tower camera. This is how things are looking outside right now. Frankly, it looks like we need to clean that little lens there, and we will be sure to get that done. Hope you are having a great evening, and we also hope that you'll join us for 13 News Live at 10. We'll see you then.